All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How much do you need to make in order to purchase a home and prosper? That's the question of the day. That's what we're going to be answering at the moment. Okay. So it sounds like we are on. As you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. Also, this is take two because our first live stream, uh, it froze for whatever reason. So hopefully it doesn't happen again. So we're going to get through this as quickly as possible, but as thorough as possible. Prosper, Texas. That is a city that has absolutely transformed in the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and beyond. So it's a city that is rapidly growing. So we have a lot of individuals that are making calls, like reaching out to us and are specifically asking for Prosper. It used to be people calling us specifically asking for Plano, then specifically asking for Frisco. Now Prosper is the next thing. So that's what we're going to look at today, on how much we actually need to earn, how much we need to make in order to purchase a home in Prosper. I'm going to give you various scenarios with different loan programs. I'm going to give you different scenarios when it comes to the real estate available. I'm going to give you a different perspective on property taxes and share with you exactly how to calculate those property taxes so you understand what they look like and how that's going to actually do for your payment moving forward. So we're going to cover a lot of different aspects, so we need to get going very, very quickly. So right out of the gate, let's understand the type of property available to you in Prosper. Something that's super important, specifically with this video, is given that we are looking at how much we need to make in order to purchase a home, is first we need to understand how much are homes selling for right now in Prosper. What are the property values in Prosper? What type of budget are we working with? So what you're looking on the screen right now, what you're seeing on the screen right now is Altos Research, which is a market data that helps you in real time understand what the market is doing right now, specifically in Prosper. Now, if you have another city in mind, then you just search that city or the zip code and you are there. You're getting real-time information. That way you have it at your fingertips. This gives you information such as median price, gives you days on market, gives you how many homes are increasing in price or that are on the market that have increased in price, that have decreased in price, the inventory available, median rent, and everything in between. So right now, one of the reasons that I suspect that we got shut down was because of this graph. So since it's not showing, we're not going to worry about too much. We're not going to worry about it too much right now. So just know that the median list price at the moment in Prosper is almost $1 million. Now, if the graph was up and going, I don't want to refresh this because it's going to potentially crash my software again. So we're just going to keep it moving. One of the things that you would have noticed was 5 years ago, the median list price was $500,000. Now it's getting close and edging on the $1 million mark. But what really, the big reason that we're using this website altogether, again, it's free for you to use, so just go to Altos Research and you're going to be here, is the market segments down below. The reason that we like this so much is because it gives us a really good visual on the price in relation to the type of property that we're looking for. So oftentimes we get a call from somebody that's looking to move into the area with the requirements on the property. They don't necessarily call with the requirements on the price because at this point, maybe they haven't gone through pre-qualification. Maybe they don't know what type of mortgage that they're going to be responsible for, which you, after watching this video, will know that information. So we're dealing with the type of house that is being sought after. So on the right hand side, you see the bedrooms, baths, the age of the home, if it's new, days on market, and things of that nature. So here you see at the top quadrant, you have the top 25%, you have a $1.275 million home, which on average is 4,200 square feet, which on average is on a fourth to a half of an acre, and has typically 5 beds, 4.5 baths. Now, right below that, you have a property of, on average, $1 million, just shy of 3,800 square feet with 4 beds, 4.5 baths. And then right below that, you have the one that we're going to actually be using for our time today. We're going to actually calculate what salary we're going to need to purchase this type of home. $885,000. Well, let's call it $886 is what we're going to use, which is 3,400 square feet, 4 beds, 4 baths. Now, the reason that we go with this particular quadrant is because most of the individuals that call us specifically for Prosper are looking for that 4 bed plus 3 and a little bit over 3, either 3.5 or 4 bedrooms. That's the type of property that we get asked about. Now, as you can also see, this is the type of property that you can purchase down here as well on the lower quadrant, but if you have a budget of $500,000 as an example, you're not going to find that many options in Prosper, if at all. So just give you an idea, the number that we're going to use for our purposes today is $886,000. Now, given the previous live stream got shut down because I suspect it was that particular website, we're not going to worry about that website any longer. So I'm going to close it down and hopefully we make it through the end of the stream. As you're coming in, a like is going to go a long way. It's going to help amplify this video, especially since we had to restart it. And YouTube's going to share it with the people that need to see this type of information. Again, what salary do we need? What salary must you have in order to purchase a home in Prosper? That's the question that we're answering for us today. Now, one of the things that I like to do after we understand the price that we're looking at, after we understand how much homes sell for in the specific area that we're looking for, in this case, it's Prosper, I want to give you a visual idea of what homes you can realistically purchase for that price. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to our website. Let's go to jaimeresendez.exprealty.com, and I'm going to go over to Prosper. And I'm going to look just at single family homes. And I'm going to put a median price of, we're going to go with median price of $750, even though that's substantially below the $886 that we're working towards. And we're going to go to $950 to give you a visual of the types of homes that you can purchase for that price. So I'm going to move myself for a quick second. So as you can see where Prosper is at. And on the right hand side, we're just doing a very brief visual inspection of the homes that we're talking about today. So as you can see, you have the price here, you have the size, and then you have the bedroom. So I'm going to scroll down in a very fast fashion so you see the types of homes that are available. Now, one thing that's going to jump out at you most likely is that a lot of these properties are new. And that is absolutely the case, given that Prosper is being developed at a rapid pace. Prosper had a very small population, a small town 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and now it's one of the fastest growing cities, not just in the Metroplex, but in the entire country. So you can expect a lot of brand new builds. All right. So again, that was just a little visual taste of what it looks like. This is not for the actual, you perusing through homes. The best value for your buck is going to be going either checking out our list of preferred homes, link down below, which is all about Prosper, or going over to Zillow, going to Redfin and looking at the properties there. I just wanted to give you, again, a little visual of what you could purchase for that amount, because for $886, if you purchase a home, let's just say in McAllen, well, you're buying a mansion. With $886,000 over in Beverly Hills, where you're not buying a mansion, you're buying a 1-bedroom. That is what you're purchasing. All right, so let's get into this. What you're seeing on the screen right now is the first calculation that we're gonna need to make is understanding the type of payment that we're working with, and then we're gonna get into the salary that is required plus the maximum that you can purchase with the salary that you have. That way you have a complete understanding of where these numbers are coming from. So this way you're not at the mercy of a lender. You're not at the mercy of an agent. You're not at the mercy of any other real estate professional that's telling you that it has to be this way because of X, Y, and Z. This way you can come out with the math ahead of time. You're very well informed of what you need to do in your particular financial situation in order to accomplish your real estate goals. On the screen right now, you have what's called a Loan Clarity Advisor. This is a tool that was created by Kyle Seagraves, who has a YouTube channel called Win the House You Love. This is a tool that you can go to his channel and download, or you can just go down to the description down below, which is the same tool that we here in our group, the DFW Homeowner Group, we use for all of our analysis because it's just that good. So you're going to want to go and check out his YouTube channel for sure. But for our purposes today, we're going to go through a bit of math or a little bit of a breakdown. And if you are purchasing a home for the price that we're going to go with today, which is $886. How many zeros did I put in? There we go. $886,000, which will buy you, again, that property that's over 3,200 square feet, I believe is what I saw. 4 beds, four bath. If you're buying this type of property, then the math is going to be done alongside with us. So your homework is already done. But if you're looking to purchase a price that's a little bit higher or a little bit lower than that, all you have to do is apply the same things that you're about to see today, just changing the numbers here ever so slightly. All right, so purchase price, $886,000. We're going to live in Prosper. That is our goal. We're trying to come up with the math on how much we actually need to earn in order to purchase a property in Prosper. And we're going to look at different loan programs in order to do that. We're going to look at different down payment options in order to do that. So we're going to work through that today. Now, one thing that I really want to stress before we get into the actual math is a mortgage payment. Just sharing with you that there's really four components of a mortgage payment. So a mortgage payment is essentially what you're paying on a monthly basis in order to purchase your home. So with your mortgage payment, you're looking at your principal, how much you actually get the loan that you request from a bank. So how much you're actually borrowing. You have the interest, how much it costs you to borrow that money from the bank, so that you're paying for the interest. You're also paying property taxes. In Texas, listen up, in Texas, you have to pay attention to property taxes. It's not a, oh, well, I'll look at it later. This is a forever thing. The property taxes never goes away. As long as you own that property, regardless if you own it outright or you own it with the bank, you're paying property taxes. And in Texas, you have the 7th highest property tax rates in the country. And if you're wondering what's number 1, that's New Jersey. So if you're moving from New Jersey to Texas, congratulations, you're earning a little bit more money back. But anyway, with property taxes, especially if you're not in a state that really pays that much attention to property taxes because they're so low, you will pay close attention very soon, as soon as you get your property tax bill in the mail. So property taxes is something that you're typically going to be paying every single month alongside your principal, your interest, and again, your property taxes. That's something you're paying monthly, as it will be put in escrow, and the servicer of your loan will be paying the property taxes on your behalf. The fourth component is going to be, let me move this over here. The fourth component is going to be your home insurance. Your home insurance is something that you're going to be paying on a monthly basis, at least you from a mortgage perspective. And again, that is also paid once a year, but that's going to be paid by your mortgage servicer. So those are your 4 components of your mortgage payment: your principal, your interest, your property tax, and home insurance. These 2, for all intents and purposes, do not change if you get a fixed loan, which most of you are going to get a fixed loan, and you're going to see what they look like today. So your principal and your interest, they're going to stay the same. Your property taxes, most of the time, are going to rise, which means that every single year, your monthly mortgage payment is going to rise. So I want you to be prepared now before you actually get the letter and saying, hey, we actually under-collected property taxes this past year, so you're going to need to pay what we under-collected last year, and on top of that, what is the rise in property taxes this year. So you could have a mortgage payment swing of hundreds of dollars. Not could, like you will have a mortgage payment swing, especially when you're looking at this type of property and how much you're paying for this type of property. You're looking at several hundreds of dollars every single month in difference. You're going to see what that looks like here shortly. But with all that being said, I just want to explain those concepts because they're super important, especially in Texas. Property taxes, what we're showing you right now is an average of Texas, which again is in Texas, it's 1.8, which is among the highest in the country. But what we're going to do is we're going to get a little bit more molecular. We're going to look at Prosper specifically because that's where you're purchasing. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Prosper property tax rate. All right. And we're going to go to Prosper. Let's see. Websites are notorious for shutting down my stream as well because they're just so dense with information. So I have to get the information that we need today and get out of here as quickly as possible. All right, so Prosper is 0.52 of this amount. Okay, total tax rate. Okay, don't let this sway you. That's not your entire property tax bill. Okay, it's not showing me that. So 0.52, y'all remember that. Property tax compares ISD, Prosper ISD. Seems a little high on my end. All right, so 2.3, 2.5. No, that's this. Where are we? Here we go. 2.45. All right, we're going to go with that. Not all cities really spell it out, which is this property taxes are already confusing enough. And for the cities not to really break it down and show you, that's a big disservice to you. All right, so Prosper ISD, 1.25 plus the 0.4. Here we go. 1.7. I'm gonna look at one more site. I'm looking at several different things right now. Okay. We're going to go with this one right here. Even though I think this is a little bit on the higher end. But we're going to go with this math because we're seeing it right here, 2.45. All right, now I got to explain, do a little bit of math on this. All right. We're going to assume, let me see if I have time to show you this real quick. Do I? I like to show you like in real time so you see exactly where these numbers are coming from. That way, when you're doing it yourself, you know what's going on. All right, this is close. All right, so folks, here's how silly it gets. So I had to go to an actual, to a builder's website to get the information that should very readily be available to you in a very black and white way on their website. And I'm not picking on Prosper, solely Prosper. This is all over the entire Metroplex. There's some cities that will just flat out give you the numbers. They'll give you the rates. Some of them will even provide a calculator for you. So they don't all have a calculator like you're about to have. Again, it is linked down below for you to have. But you have to be very well informed with property taxes, because if you buy in Prosper versus Frisco, remember, property taxes do not go away. So you're going to be paying Prosper taxes or Frisco taxes for however long you own that property, which could be a radically different swing. So here you go. The total tax of any city or town, blah, 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 subdivided into 3 categories. There's actually more, but we'll get into that here shortly. So you have the county taxes, you have city taxes, and you have the school district taxes. Yeah, what they don't include, so it's actually 5. They're saying 3, so they're not getting it all right, but there's actually 5 total things that you need to take into consideration. So here we go. County, we're going to say, because we're going to be in Collin, aren't we? We're going to add that. We're going to add that. We're going to add that. And then we're going to add that. So let me do just some real back of the napkin math. So that's 0.6. That's 2.2. That's 2.45. So the that other website that we're looking at was correct. So let me break it down. So 2.45. Before I forget, let me get us there. I know it's a racket. I don't think I have 2.25. 2.45. We're going to go 2.5, understanding that's a little bit higher. So let me get out of that because I don't want us to get shut down. All right. So they were saying, all right, property taxes, this is how important they are. And I know you didn't necessarily sign up for this particular part of the title doesn't necessarily say learn everything about property taxes, but they're so important whenever we're talking about your how much you need to make in order to purchase, because 2.5% every single year of the value of your home, or the assessed value of your home, is huge. As you see you're looking at $1,800 in many areas, in many properties. That's actually a mortgage payment. So, and that's just property taxes, right? So they're so important, but hopefully you can appreciate the level of detail that we go around, get into here. There's 5 components to property taxes in many cities, not all cities, but in many cities. The first one is going to be your city tax. As you saw there, it was like 0.52, which is middle of the road when it comes to you comparing it to the rest of DFW Metroplex. So the city of Prosper itself has a 0.52% property tax. Then you have the county. Depending on if you live on the county, on the Collin County side or the Denton County side, you're paying that rate as well. Then you have the schools. The school ISD, where you go, matters because you're paying a good portion of your property taxes to that. This is actually the highest percentage that you're going to be paying. So you saw in Prosper, it's like 0.52% for the city. For Collin or Denton, you're usually 0.15 to 0.2 or something like that. And then with your ISD, that's generally going to be 1 point something and above, right? So there is your city. And then the other two that I was alluding to earlier, not all cities have this, but you see a good portion of them do, is the higher education tax, which in this case, it was, they did have a community college tax, and then you have a hospitals tax. In many cities, you have that. So those are the 5 components of your property tax rate. So for the most part, you can count on those 3 always being there: your city, your county, and then your ISD. And then in many others, you have the higher education and your we'll call it healthcare, your hospital tax. I know that's a lot, folks. I apologize. But it's so important because it's one of those things that until I owned a property myself, this is years ago, and I saw how much I was paying in property taxes. Back in the day, I was my first home was in Castle Hills. I had a $500,000. I purchased it for like $500,000 or something like that. And when I remember seeing the property taxes I was being assessed to be, I could not for the life of me understand why I was paying thousands of dollars every single year to property taxes, because I didn't know this. I had no earthly idea, right? So I just knew that I qualified for a certain loan, which you're going to see today, and I just didn't know how the math worked. So it was very, very, very eye-opening. All right, so let's keep going. For the home insurance, typically, we're just going to do a 0.75% of the value of the home. Now, home insurance, folks, here as of late, it's gotten crazy. Some insurers actually have pulled out of states altogether. So in California, you have major insurers that no longer do home insurance for Californians. Same thing with Florida. And then you have a lot of that going on. The premiums have absolutely skyrocketed, regardless if it's a primary home or an investment home. So you need to be aware that that's also, remember, that's that 4th thing that's going to rise as well, that 4th part of your mortgage. So you have your principal, your interest, your property taxes, and your home insurance. Your principal and your interest eventually, depending on how quickly you are with getting your payments out or paying down your loan, that eventually goes away. But your property taxes are there until forever, until you sell that home. And then your home insurance, I don't advise anybody to get rid of their home insurance. So most of the time it's going to be there forever as well. So these are 2 variables that are going to continue to rise as we continue going. And then your HOA, if you live in Prosper, chances are you're going to live in an HOA. Why? Well, there's a lot of new construction going on in Prosper. And over 75% of the homes that are being built all across the country get built into an HOA, or an HOA, let me rephrase that. An HOA is overlaid on top of the new build community. So just be aware that most likely you are going to be paying an HOA. Now, the HOAs in Prosper have gotten crazy. Like you have Windsong Ranch. Is it farm or ranch? You have Windsong, which has the lagoon, the famous lagoon that's out there, that's in Prosper. So you have some HOAs that are going to be behemoths that are going to cost $2,000, like they're going to cost very, very high in relation to what a traditional HOA would be. So just be aware of that. We're not going to put any number on this today. Just know that whenever you get this tool, whatever the HOA happens to be, because you're going to be paying it at the beginning of the year yourself, that's not going to be part of the mortgage payment. That's what you're just going to need to add as a cost of you owning that home. All right, so let's keep going, folks. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I know I'm going all over the place, but this is so important for you to understand, and I do not want you to get caught flat-footed here. So this is a time to ask questions. If there's a concept, even though we've talked about so many different concepts right now. If there's a concept, if there's something that I mentioned that doesn't necessarily make sense, please feel free to ask that in the chat right now, because I do want to make sure that you get all the questions answered. All right, so what we're doing right now is we're prepping various loan options. We know the price that we need to take. We have an understanding what property taxes are because we went and verified. Remember, this is going to be 2.45 that we're going to imagine. 2.5 is on the conservative side. Why did I put 2.5? Because my tool here did not allow me to go in between the lines. So just know that. It's going to be actually on the higher end, which is actually going to be in your favor. All right, so here we go. We're going to go option one, which is going to be a conventional loan versus another conventional loan versus another conventional loan. What we're going to be changing between the three is going to be the down payment. Now, you can do various types of loans. If you have an FHA loan, USDA, VA, jumbo portfolio loan, you just input it here and compare it. But I just wanted to give you apples to apples comparison. The only one thing that I'm changing, the only variable is going to be the down payment. So we're going to leave the down payment here. We're going to do a 5% down versus a 10% down versus a 20% down. Now, if you're anything like me, this 20% stands out when it comes to the down payment. I was under the understanding, or I was under the impression back in the day, that down payments were needed. I needed to have a 20% down payment in order to purchase a home. That is not true. That is not true. The down payment, where the 20% comes from, is with the down payment. If you do 20% down, you're avoiding, or you're not required to have pay an additional mortgage insurance. In this case, it's called PMI, private mortgage insurance, based off of the loan that you're getting. So that's where the down payment is coming from. If you put anything less than 20% down, you are paying the percentage that you're getting. You're paying the interest rate that you're getting, but on top of that, you're also going to be paying mortgage insurance. In this case, private mortgage insurance, because the bank sees it as them having the bulk of the responsibility on that home, the bulk of the liability. They don't see you as enough of an equity owner in the property, so they need to tax you a higher mortgage insurance, so an additional fee, an additional percentage, so as to offset that risk on their end, which you'll see what that means here shortly. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the interest rates. So right now, what is the mortgage interest rate right now? All right, so let's go to bank rate. Let me see over here. There's a different browser. Here we go. All right, so the 30-year right now is 7. It's going down. It's going down. So some of the, depending on when we go live, we've done, I think when we did Richardson 2 weeks ago, the 30-year was at 7.9 or something to that effect. Now it's at 7.465. So we're going to use that. 7.9. 465. And we're going to do that across the board. Now, what goes into the mortgage interest rate? Several different factors. How much you're asking for, what the national rate right now is, your credit score, if you're buying points or not. So as you can see here, the point scenario, you can buy points, which essentially means buying down the rate. You have the ability to do that. It's going to cost you. It's going to cost you $1,000 in order to buy down the mortgage interest rate to a certain extent, which essentially, when you're saying buy down points, you're essentially doing prepaid. You're prepaying interest is all you're doing. But basically, that's what buying points means. So this is why we put this here. You can buy points, which is going to be factored into the equation here. But for our purposes today, we have what we need. We have the down payment options that we're giving ourselves. We have the mortgage interest rates that are available right here, right now. You just saw, all I did was mortgage interest rate. I typed that into Google and it gave me these numbers, which by the time that you're watching this, you can get higher, you can get lower. It's just going to be depending on when you get this loan and also your personal situation. All right, so we're not going to worry about buying points, and we're also not going to look at lender fees. Is that because there's no lender fees? Absolutely not. But I want you to put that information as you're comparing lenders, you put that information on your end. For our purposes today, we're not going to worry about that. We're only going to worry about what our monthly mortgage payment is going to be. All right, so as you see here, you have the mortgage insurance. Why? Well, again, because we went less than 20% down, we have to pay an additional interest. We have to pay an additional fee, which is the mortgage insurance, so PMI. Now, if you want to calculate what extra payments will do for your loan and how quickly you can pay off that loan, you can do that here. But for our purposes today, I just want to show you visually in 10 years how much you're saving depending on how much you're putting down, right? So you can move this slider up or down depending on how on where you want the comparison to start or end. But we usually go to 10 years because on average you're going to be moving homes anywhere from 7 to 10 years. That's on average. All right, so you buy a home in 7 to 10 years, you're out to the next one. So here, assuming that that's the case, this gives you an idea of how much you're saving if you go with loan number 3. What was loan number 3? The only difference was that 20% down. Right? So it makes sense. You're asking for less money. You're asking for less money from the bank, so you're not paying as much in interest. So that makes sense. That's a visual thing for you to see. What I want to show you more than anything, though, is what it breaks down in terms of the additional that you would be paying in monthly mortgage, plus all the interest that you're going to be paying in these first 10 years. So you see the difference on how this came up. You see what the breakdown is like. Again, you can move this up, you can move this down. This is something for you to play around with once you download the calculator. It is linked down below for you to check out. But this is that loan breakdown. What's important to you for our purposes today as we go into the next section, which is the max price, giving us how much we actually need to earn, how much we need to make in order to purchase a home, is going to be this right here. Now you're starting to see on paper an $886,000 home. How much is that going to cost me per month? What's the expense? So this gives you an idea of what that looks like. So the monthly mortgage payment on year 10. So again, we're making a year 10 comparison. Your numbers can go up and can go down just depending on this right here. In year 10, it makes some assumptions. It makes some assumptions as to the value of that home. It makes some assumptions on how much more you're paying in taxes. It makes some assumptions on whether you have the mortgage insurance or not. So this gives you an idea of what that monthly mortgage payment looks like. So here, if you were to put 5% down on that property of $886,000, you're paying $8,600. Now, if you would have put 20% down, then you're paying $7,300, right? So you see the difference. Now, again, you can move this slider up here. It doesn't change much, but it gives you a good visual of what it would end up being. So 862, 8682, 7335. Now, if we move this back, There you go. Doesn't change it much, but it's important that you see it. All right, so here you go. You have $8,600 and $7,300. You see a difference of if you put 5% down versus 20% down. If you put 10% down, that's what it looks like. All right, this gives you the equity breakdown. We breeze through this part right now because we need to get to the max price. We need to get to what you actually need to earn in order to purchase a home. But this gives you, again, a lot of helpful visual things and a lot of helpful tools for you to see where the numbers are going, where they're coming from, and what you can expect. So it gives you some additional details on the down payment, which let's talk about this for a quick second. I recognize that there's a huge difference between 5% down on this type of home versus 20% down. And that difference is of what, $120 something thousand dollars or $33,000. That's huge. I'm not pretending that, oh, well, it's 20% down is going to be so easy to do. That is something that I recognize not everybody is in a financial position to do. And I also recognize not everybody is in a financial position to pay this type of money for housing. $886,000 is a lot. So what I'm doing here is giving you the different scenarios. I'm giving you the 5%, 10%, 20% down, depending on where you are financially and also where you are comfortable in terms of payments. That's what I'm giving you here. So again, if you're in a position where you absolutely, if you want to purchase this type of home and you have 5% down and you make that work, great. If you're in a position where you can do 20% down, great as well. It's whatever is comfortable for you in your particular situation. That's perfect. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that everybody should go to the 20% down because I recognize that not all of us are there. It's your financial decision to make. It's my responsibility to show you where the math is coming from. Now, this graph gives you an idea of how much you make or how much you don't make, which in this case you will be making, but how much you make on the sale of that home. So this factors in the actual cost. This factors in how much you're factoring in the appreciation of the home. You're factoring in the cost of selling that home, and you're going to see the comparison of what it looks like owning a home versus renting a home. So in year 10, assuming you purchase this home and you make payments consistently through those first 10 years, and assuming a 4% appreciation rate, which is actually a very conservative appreciation, especially in Prosper, because again, Prosper is one of the fastest growing cities in the entire country at the moment. And home values are just appreciating like crazy. So this is a really conservative amount. You had back in the peak in 2021, 2022, you had a 1 year appreciation of 30%. 30%. Don't expect that coming back. Hopefully, don't expect that happening again. But that's how crazy things were back when people were absolutely going bonkers over homes when interest rates were at 2%, 3%, which as you see on the screen right now, that's no longer the case. All right, so we're assuming a 4% appreciation. We're assuming a cost to sell at 6%. We're assuming a tax increase per year, so property taxes increasing, not the property tax rate increasing, but the amount that you're paying increasing by 2%, and the insurance increase per year as well. So again, these are very conservative, so you can mess around with these if you so choose. And this gives you a visual of what it looks like in terms of the actual benefit cost of buying versus how much you would have spent in housing had you been renting. All right, so this is a really good visual on how much the appreciation that you gain, how much it cost you to loan, the amount you paid in property taxes. So it gives you a number of how much your investment is worth in actual numbers. And then the amortization table. This is the only thing that I want to show you here is how much of a small amount you pay in principal versus how much you pay in interest at the beginning of your loan. All right, so you see the breakdown here. And as we talked about earlier when we were looking at the 4 components of the mortgage payment, the property taxes and the home insurance, Those are not seen here, but those are the things that change. And most of the time they go up. That's why we included these as going up over here. The principal and interest, it's already baked in stone, given that you have a fixed rate in most occasions. The only thing that changes is the principal and the interest. How much of your monthly mortgage payment goes into paying down the principal versus how much goes into paying the cost of that loan, right? So just, it's important to be aware of this. All right, so now that we know what we know, let's get into some really fun math of how much we actually need to earn in order to purchase this home. Now that you have a really good basis of the property taxes, now you have an understanding of the different loans that are available to you, what drives the loans up or down. Let's look at what we would be paying for a mortgage, or what, I'm sorry, let's see how much we actually need to make in order to purchase a home of $886,000. So we're going to assume several things. Let's just say down payment, we're going to put 5% down. This tool is linked down below for you to check out as well. So let's just say, for our purposes today, we're going to get into this property for as little down as possible. Well, technically you can get into this property for 3% down because you're getting a conventional, but for our purposes today, we're going to say 5%. Just knowing that with a conventional, you can get down to 3%. If you're getting an FHA, you can get it down to 3.5% as well in down payment. All right, so our mortgage interest rate, I believe we said it was 7.6. No, 7 point, what was it? I'm sorry. 7.465? Yeah, that's what it was. All right, so we're going to say that our mortgage interest rate is 7.465. We just went over to Google and we typed in mortgage payments, mortgage interest rates today. That's what it gave us. We're going to say it's a 30-year loan. Our property taxes, now we can get a little bit more specific. Our property taxes are 2.45%. So we're going to put that in there. Our insurance, we're going to leave it at that 0.75%, which again, this is gives you a ballpark of how much you're going to be paying in home insurance. And then you have, we're going to assume good credit. And we're going to say our HOA is $800. HOAs are going to vary. For a property of this size, $800 is reasonable. Because again, in Prosper, you're looking at a lot of new builds, a lot of master plan communities that overlay an HOA, whether you want to or not. Over 75% of the homes that are being built right now in the entire country come attached with an HOA. So good luck finding a property that's not in an HOA, especially in Prosper. All right, the income taxes, we're going to leave it at that for now. Now, we're going to assume is that our yearly income to start off to get into a property like this, we're just going to put in a number. Like, I have a good idea of what it's going to be, but I'm not going to bias this. I just want to show you just a rough number, so then we can start working with this tool so you can get a better understanding how it works, and also get it will allow you to use your own numbers as you get there. But we're going to assume that we make a yearly income of $250,000. Now, we are also, in this scenario we're not, but in your scenario, please include the debt that you have. Anything that has to do with car loans, anything that has to do with loans, basically. So car loans, student loans, credit cards, personal loans, rental property, mortgages, alimony, child support, things of that nature. Your normal stuff like your groceries, your phone bill, gas, stuff like that, that doesn't count. So you would put in the name of the debt and then also how much you're paying in that debt. How much you're paying right here. All right, so make sure that you include that. And then if you have another borrower, so if you're making that income and then you have somebody else that is going to be on that loan, add that particular income that they're earning and then also any debt that they have. Right? So this is going to be super important in order for you to get some real numbers that actually matter to you. For our purposes today, we're not going to include any debt just to have a clean number to work with. We're going to say we make $250,000 a year and we're putting 5% down to purchase this home. So what is that going to allow us to purchase? All right. So as you see here, given a conservative risk level, a level that is not as high when it comes to the debt to income ratio, but it's also not as low. It's a conservative estimate. The recommendation would be just to buy a property just under $600,000. That would be the max price under the conservative level. That means that at 5% down, you're looking at $30,000. Estimated closing costs would be around that much, $15,000 plus your property principal and interest, property taxes, all that fun stuff. Now, does this mean that if you make $250,000, that's the highest that you can actually purchase? No, it does not mean that. You can actually get a bit more risky. You can get a little bit more aggressive. Let me see if I can zoom in just slightly without crashing down the system. On a moderate risk level, you can purchase a home of $761,000, which will mean your payment would be about $7,500. Now, if you want to be even more aggressive, there's going to be lenders, there are going to be banks that are going to let you borrow that type of money. If you want to get super aggressive, you're looking at $953,000. Now, here's the thing. In order to start getting into these aggressive and super, I don't say super, into the risky loans where a huge part of your loan is being comprised, a huge part of your income goes to your mortgage payment. In order to get into these types of aggressive and risky loans, you need to have pristine credit, right? Simply because there's lenders that will allow you to borrow this amount of money, many of them won't allow you to do that unless you have squeaky clean credit. Just to give you a heads up. But are there going to be lenders out there that approve you for this type of loan? 100%. There will be. Now, you see here with $250,000, you can comfortably purchase a home in Prosper under that $866,000 benchmark. Now, if you ask for less, let's go and play around with some numbers. Let's just say you put, all right, y'all remember this. Let's go 590. I'll remember that number. And then 760. 590, 760. Well, just remember those numbers and see how much, if you do 10% down, what that's going to do. If you do 10% down, you're eligible to purchase a larger property. Why? Well, because you put a bit more skin in the game. You already put some money. You own. You're not going to be borrowing as much money. And you see here under the moderate, you're looking at almost $800,000. And as you can imagine, the more that you put down, the more of a home that you can purchase. Well, why? Well, you're putting more down, which means that you're asking for less money. Actually, in relative, but yeah, at the end of the day, you're asking for less money proportionally. Ultimately, what's going to drive your consumer power, your purchasing power radically in a more radical way is actually your interest payment. It's not, if you put 20% down, it's actually not going to make that big of a difference in terms of your monthly mortgage payment as you would think. But what is going to make a radical difference in purchasing power and your monthly mortgage payment is going to be your interest rate. So one suggestion that I have for you is go and find these new build communities. If you need help, just feel free to reach out to us. Our contact information is down below. We sell a lot of real estate, especially in this area, where we help buyers get into Prosper at a much lower interest rate. How? Well, we do a lot of new construction. So new construction, new builds will give you more favorable mortgage rates because they generally have either their own in-house mortgage team or they have relationships that they're funding the entire development with not necessarily larger lenders, with lenders that can give you favorable rates. So if the mortgage interest, like right now, let me give you an example. The mortgage interest rate is what? 7.465. That's what we saw on camera right now, or what we saw on Google right now. And I know for a fact there's some communities out there right now that are offering you 6%. They're offering you 6.5%. So if you take that into consideration, let's go back down to our 5% that we were looking at. So again, just a quick refresher, 590, 760 for the moderate. If we can get you into a home that is offering you 6.25%, from the lender, look at the radical difference that happens. Now you can purchase a home, same down payment. The only thing that you changed was a mortgage interest, or the interest rate, 641, and now instead of whatever that number was before, 7 something, now you're at $827,000. So that's the huge difference, that we went down not by a drastic amount, we went down by 1%. Now, obviously, we would love to get back in the day, just to give you some real heartburn, when you were purchasing homes for 3%, the type of home that you could purchase for 5% down, you could purchase a home for $800,000 and then $1 million property, right? Now, those days are long gone. I'm just being a little bit, and just being a killjoy here, but those days no longer exist. But just to give you an idea of how big of a difference these mortgage rates make in your home journey. But overall, very comfortably, you could purchase a home for $250,000 in Prosper. You could very comfortably purchase for $200,000. The yearly gross income that you need to make would need to be in this ballpark. Now, if you can make less, but you would have to put much more in down payment. So here we're talking about taking more years to prepare, so you are able to purchase a property for 10% down, 15% down, 20% down, and beyond, so you don't have as much of a mortgage payment, as much of a loan payment to pay off at the end of the year. So the less that you borrow, clearly, the less that you have to pay back. Overall, I think that you'd be in a really, really, really fantastic city, a 5-star city. It's one of the highest rated cities that we have reviewed. We have several videos on Prosper, so make sure you check them out. They will be linked down below. If you have any questions on the math that we just did, if you want some suggestions on where we would go in terms of finding that next property for you, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, our contact information is there as well. Happy to help you in any way that we can. Talk to you soon.